All right, looks like we are live. Welcome to Standing for Truth. My name is Donny, and I am your host and moderator for tonight's debate between Dr. Kent Hovind and David Emery on is evolution a reasonable or a valid scientific theory? The Evolution Debate Challenge series continues, guys. We've done about 30 of these now. It's been a ton of fun. And so, if you're new to the channel and you want to see more of these debates, please do check out the playlist section on the main channel titled the Evolution Debate Challenge series. Real quick, I do want to remind everybody that this is a debate marathon week. So last night we had a solid debate on the King James only controversy, Will Kinney and Turretin fan. That one was a ton of fun. The day before that, we debated oneness versus Trinity, Matt Slick versus John Barton. Tonight, of course, the Evolution Debate Challenge series continues. David Emery and Dr. Ken Hovind. And tomorrow we have a soteriology panel debate. There's going to be about 10 of us, and we are going to be discussing the parable of the sower. So that being said, let's kind of break the ice, get to know these debaters a little bit before the debate itself begins. David, it is your first time here on the channel, so I do appreciate you giving us your time for this important debate. David, let's start with you. A little bit about you, a little bit about your channel.
If you can share my slides.
Well, before your opening, David, just like an intro into who you are, a little bit about your channel.
Okay. I'm David Emery, coming to you live from the city of Holy Faith, Santa Fe, New Mexico. You're welcome to come out here anytime. It's free to visit. I am a retired data analyst, statistical analyst, and worked 40 years. Some of that for NASA, and a lot of it for government. I was a minister for a few years, and I guess that's about it for now.
All right, David, appreciate the intro there. Your channel link is in the description box. Okay, Dr. Dino, Kent, debate number 293, I believe, pretty close to 300. So how you doing? And a little bit about you and Dow.
I'm doing great. I still have this crazy cough I've had for 2 weeks, so sorry about that, but I feel fine. My name's Kent Hovind. I've been a Baptist preacher 48 years. I taught science and math in high school for 15 years, and I moved to Pensacola in January of '89 and started a ministry called Creation Science Evangelism, using the scientific evidence to support the biblical account of creation. God said he made everything in 6 days. Everything. That would include dinosaurs, stars, everything in 6 days. He wrote it on a rock with his finger. By the way, the atheist rocks fell down last night. You see that, Donnie? The Georgia Guidestones? I don't know. Lightning hit them or somebody blew them up or something. Anyway, they're down. The 10 Commandments for the New World Order for the atheists, yeah. Anyway, so I started a ministry called Creation Science Evangelism in January of '89. And 6 years ago, a guy gave us 140 acres here in Lenox, Alabama. So we have Dinosaur Adventureland, a science center, a museum, a theme park, all kinds of fun stuff, a playground that's incredible, a barn, a farm tour with all kinds of different animals, all of which bring forth after their kind. The squirrels always make baby squirrels, and the rabbits always make baby rabbits, no exceptions. We think evolution is the dumbest and most dangerous religious cult in the history of the world. There is no evidence of any animal ever producing a different kind of offspring, but they put the charts like this in the textbooks for the kids, showing everything coming from an amoeba. And humans are related to pine trees. This is pure propaganda. This is not science. This is evil, absolutely evil to teach this to kids. And I think it should be stopped. So we devote our ministry to making DVDs and YouTube videos and stuff about science in the Bible to defend the Bible as being scientifically accurate. There is no evidence whatsoever for the evolution theory. Not only dumb, it's dangerous. That was the theory that motivated Adolf Hitler. Oh, superior race, must be the Germans. Let's kill everybody else. That's the theory that motivated communism. We cover all that in my video series number 5 about the dangers of evolution. So I take this very serious. I love the Lord, been a Christian a long time, want to get other people into the family and into the kingdom. I don't know if David's been introduced to the Lord or not, but we'll try to do that tonight, get him in the family. Go ahead.
Okay, appreciate that intro there, Kent Hovind. Okay, let's get right into the debate itself. For the audience sake, as we have been doing in this series, it's going to be a little more informal. We're going to keep it free-flowing and organic. We're going to allow David Emery to give us a brief introduction in terms of, where we should take this debate in the direction in terms of the first point, first argument, so on and so forth. So, David, I see your screen being shared, I should say. So there it is. It's up there. Is Evolution a Valid Scientific Theory? July 7th, 2022. So whenever you're ready, David, the floor is yours.
Okay. Let me see. So this evening, I'm going to try to clear up some misconceptions that abound on YouTube, and especially within the creationist worldview. You can believe in creationism, and then you can throw out all the science, and I think you've missed the boat here. You've lost, if you ever had, the wonder and the curiosity of the universe in general, and the Earth specifically. Science is to you merely a path to your worldview. Before I go into some of this other, I want to do some definitions. Religion is the belief and worship of a superhuman controlling power, especially a personal God or gods. So religion has God in it. Kent says he's been a pastor for 58 years, and it's always because he's been worshiping God. Evolution doesn't have God in it, and there's no reason to call it religion because there's no God. Let's go down to magic. Magic is a power apparently influencing the course of events using mysterious or supernatural forces. So again, we've got supernatural forces. Somehow you're manipulating things magically. Again, that's not evolution or science. The word science, Mr. Hovind likes to call that knowledge, and that's certainly a part of science. A lot of science is not a noun, it's a verb, it's an action. And so science is the intellectual and practical activity encompassing the systematic study of the structure and behavior of the physical and natural world through observation, experiment, measurements, all of those things that are physical. And then the last one I have here is creation. And if you go down to the middle where it says the creation is the bringing into existence of the universe, especially when regarded as an act of God. So creation is an act of God, which goes back up to religion. It's a controlled by a superhuman power. If you look at science and creation don't go together. all of these people on YouTube, you can find hundreds of them that call creation science. I guess they do that because they want to be a scientist now. So it's not creation science. Another thing I want to say is what is the status quo and the burden of proof? Because I've heard Mr. Kent mention several times in debates that he has no burden of proof. It's all on the evolutionist. And I think you really only need to look at the bottom paragraph. It says, this will lend the question as to what is the non-negligible risk. In such a situation, the burden of proof is to be placed on those attempting to alter the status quo. They are to discharge this burden by showing the absence of a reasonable or medical concern.
30 seconds.
And that is the requirement of a standard of proof. If you're trying to put down the status quo, then you have the status of proof. I'm sorry, I'm going to run out of time here, but 2 Peter 3, I know this is Kent's favorite scripture. If you look at 3, 4, and 5, and 6, Kent always skips 4 because it's got stuff in it that he doesn't want to explain. 3 says, knowing this first, that there shall come in the last days scoffers. That's where he likes to stop. Walking after their own lusts and saying, these scoffers are coming out saying, where is the promise of his coming? So these are scoffers are laughing at the disciples and saying, where's the promise of his coming? You said he'd be here soon, and he's not here. And boy, have I heard that for 40 years. But this next part in red is uniformitarianism, which is also a dirty word for creationists. But it says, for since the fathers fell asleep, all things continue as they were from the beginning of creation. So from uniformitarianism means all things continue as they were. Everything continues as it were. The backbone of evolution or of any science is that what happens now happened in the past. And of course, you've read all that other. I wanted to go through Mr. Hovind's definitions of evolution. I guess I'll wait on that.
Yeah, let's try and do it one piece at a time.
Okay.
David, you did go just over 7 minutes. And so what we'll do is we'll stop there. We'll give it to Kent for equal time. And then we will move into just more free-flowing and organic discussion, focusing on one topic at a time. So, Kent, whenever you're ready, we'll give you just over 7 minutes. Go ahead.
I apologize for the cough. He said this evening he wanted to clear up some misconceptions that abound on YouTube and within the creationist worldview. You have lost, if you ever had, the wonder and curiosity of the universe in general. I completely disagree. I have a great wonder and curiosity about the universe. I love science. Every branch of science I think is wonderful to study. We have a science center here. We study all kinds of things. We study the animals, the plants, the rocks, the minerals. We haven't lost the wonder of science. I think the evolutionist has. They're unwilling to admit, wow, there might have been a designer. They're unwilling to admit that. You said religion is belief in worship of superhuman controlling power, especially a personal God. Evolution is also a religion. You have to believe that animals can change. This chart I'm showing here is pure religion. Nobody's ever seen an amoeba produce a non-amoeba, but they've got amoebas turning into pine trees and humans and apes and birds. This isn't science. This is a religion. People believe in it. They might believe in it very strongly. Okay, it's still not science. Science is what we can observe, study, test, and demonstrate. I agree. Where's the observation of an amoeba producing a non-amoeba? There is none. Evolution does not belong in the field of science. It's a religious worldview that people choose. Magic, the power of apparently influencing the course of events using mysterious or supernatural forces. That's what evolution is. How do you change an amoeba to a human and a pine tree? Nobody sees this happen. You have to imagine it, like SpongeBob. Evolution is magic. David, I don't know how you don't see it, but you defined exactly your own position, accusing it of being mine. No, you believe in magic. Science, you said, is a systematic study of structure and behavior of the physical and natural world, observation, experiment, using the scientific method. Okay, I think farmers have been studying and observing for a long time, thousands of years. Cows produce cows, goats produce goats, horses produce horses. There are no exceptions, none. Birds produce birds, but this chart has birds related to horses. This isn't science. This is magic. You guys believe in magic, and it's not science. Creation, you said, the action of process of bringing forth something into existence. I agree. There has to be a beginning to this universe, whether it's a Big Bang, which is magic, where, according to your theory, the Big Bang created time, space, and matter. From what? From where? They say 13.772 billion years ago there was a Big Bang. Okay, what was there 13.773 billion years ago? Where did this come from? You don't have an answer at all. You believe in magic. You believe it just created itself. I can make all your points. I took pictures of your slides here. We can go through all of them. But the point is, evolution is not something anybody has ever observed in the history of the universe. It is pure religion. So, you agree the standard definition for science, the knowledge man has accumulated by observation, experimentation, and testing. You, I think, would agree with that. You said that in your opening. Okay, where is the experimentation or observation or testing of any animal ever producing something other than what any fourth grader would consider the same kind? We now have 250 varieties of cows. Most of them produced by man for a special reason. He wants to get more milk or more beef or survive on a hilly country or survive in hotter climate. Sure, they've selectively bred cows to get particular traits that they want. More milk, more beef, whatever. It's still a cow. And it left to themselves, they would probably all breed back to probably 4 or 5 different varieties instead of 250. But they're still cow. Nobody's ever seen a cow produce a non-cow. But you guys have charts showing cow and pine tree having a common ancestor. This is not only not science, this is stupid, extremely stupid for somebody to believe a cow and a pine tree have a common ancestor. I don't resent them believing that. I resent them wanting to pay to teach that to all the kids, because it's certainly not science. So this will be fun tonight, David. I'm looking forward to this. So where is the observation? Where is the experimentation for how life can get started from non-living material, or for where any animal can produce a different kind? Where's the observation? There is no observation. There's no experiment. Tell you what, take any animal you want. Take mice in the laboratory and turn them into anything other than a mouse. You can experiment on them, nuke them, radiate them, do it, whatever you want to them. Make something other than a mouse. It can't be done. You can take bacteria, which have a short generation time. There's some of them, I think E. coli, only got an 8-hour generation time. So you get 3 generations per day. You could watch them for hundreds of years, which would give you tens of, probably millions of generations of bacteria. That's all you're ever going to get is a bacteria. But your chart shows bacteria slowly becoming everything else. This isn't science. It's not observable. It's not testable. It's not part of science. So evolution has 6 different meanings. You have to have cosmic evolution, the origin of time, space, matter, or you don't have anything to evolve. Where did matter come from? Where did time come from? Where did space come from? Then you have to have this Big Bang, which supposedly produced hydrogen, helium, and a little bit of lithium You got to have that turning into all the different chemicals. Chemical evolution is essential. How do you get all the different chemicals? There are 92 elements plus synthetic ones, formation of all the different chemicals. You can't fuse past iron. So how do you get uranium, platinum, gold, silver? How do you get all these chemicals from hydrogen gas? I'd like to learn how to make gold from hydrogen gas. Yeah, I'd like that one a lot. Okay. Then you have to have what's called stellar evolution. Nobody's ever seen a star form. We see stars blow up all the time. I'll skip all this. But then you have to have what we call macro or organic evolution, the origin of life. Life has to get started from somewhere. You guys believe the first living thing just made itself in pond scum somewhere. Organic evolution is essential. So you have to believe that matter could become alive. This is not science. This is nonsense. Nobody knows how lifeless chemicals became a living cell. Nobody. Primordial soup? Come on now. You think soup came alive. This is the theory. Primordial soup. So macroevolution is where you change from one kind to another. Nobody's ever seen that happen. Never. Microevolution is all we've ever seen. Variations within the same kind. 339 breeds of dogs might have had a common ancestor called a dog. Still a dog. A dog, wolf, and coyote have a common ancestor. That's not the same as a banana. A child will tell you that. So but God said they'll bring forth after their kind. That's all we've ever seen. I think that is real science. Go ahead.
Okay, appreciate that, Kent. 7 minutes on the dot. Okay, well, we got a couple of intro/opening statements from you gentlemen. Why don't we enter into a more free-flowing and organic discussion, taking one point and one topic at a time. Since Kent just ended with his response there, David, why don't we hand it to you in order to lead the way in terms of the discussion? Go ahead. Which point would you like to talk about?
I'd like to go back to my slides for a few minutes. Did you get the slides?
Yes. Yeah, it's up there, David.
Okay. In all of your debates, I think everyone, at least everyone that I've watched, you always come up with these 6 things that are definitions. You always say you've got to have these things before you can talk about biology. And then for me, you're talking about biology. So we might have to struggle through some of this. Your first one is cosmic evolution. You have no idea where the Big Bang came from. You have no idea what a singularity is. You have no idea what space-time is. This is a recent development in science, and I'm sure you haven't studied that. And then, of course, matter. I think when I was in high school, probably, is when they first really started pushing Big Bang. And they from the very first time I heard of it, they said it was a terrible name. And if you look at scientific names, you can see that scientists aren't very good at coming up with names. We have people that are really weirded out because of dark matter and dark energy, and it's just scientists have weird names. First of all, you said that there is no evidence for a Big Bang. So you think about it for a minute. I have listed 3 very concrete scientific experiments, observations, measurement that point toward a Big Bang. The first is cosmic background radiation. There were a team of scientists that worked on that. They had postulated that if the Big Bang occurred, there should be some leftover microwave radiation in the background. And they began to study that, look for that, and lo and behold, they found that. They found cosmic background radiation. And not only that, but there were path marks that they could observe that were converging toward a certain point in the universe. So all of these points converged into a certain point. The second thing is expansion of the universe. And I understand that you don't believe in the redshift. I'm not sure why. You seem to be okay with Doppler, and redshift is exactly the same thing, only waves of light instead of waves of sound. But the redshift shows that
actually, David, if I could just cut in right now, because I do want to keep it at least semi free flowing, because that is now 4 minutes. So I don't want us to take too long of responses here, because then there's just going to be so many things on the table. Currently, I've got Big Bang, cosmic microwave background radiation, expansion, and redshift. So why don't we stop it? Okay, go ahead.
Those are all things that Kent brought up. I'm just responding to those definitions of evolution that Kent brings up, and he talked about a few minutes ago. It's going to take me some time. Let me just condense it all. There is expansion of the universe, which was studied by a different team. There are amounts and distribution of elements. Kent seems to think there's no way to get heavy elements in a star. There's plenty of energy for elements up to iron. And yes, iron cannot be produced in a star. However, there are supernovas, which make plenty of energy to create iron and some of the heavier elements. Solar evolution. You talked about stars, that there was no...
Actually, David, I'll stop you right there. So at least you stuck with cosmic evolution. So before we get into like planetary or stellar evolution, let's stop it there, just so we don't ever exceed 5-minute responses, because especially for the audience sake, they do like more of a free-flowing kind of style. So I do appreciate that. I'm going to unmute Kent and remove the share screen here, and we're going to make sure Kent has equal time, and then we'll kind of go from there. So Kent, whenever you're ready, we'll give you 5 minutes. Go ahead.
Okay, thank you. Yeah, I would like to go one topic at a time. He brought up several here. He said that what happens now happened in the past about the Second Peter chapter 3 passage. Well, that's correct. The passage is saying the scoffers are going to say that, uniformitarianism. And sure enough, they're saying it. The way it happens now. Well, if the way it's happened now, it's the way it's always been happening, then cows have always produced cows. Always. So you can't have evolution. So these charts become completely meaningless. He said, I have no idea what a singularity is. I don't think anybody has an idea what a singularity is. It's an imaginary concept that all the matter and energy had to be in a small singularity. Not only all the matter of all the stars, but all the heat. What's all the total temperature of all the what's all the heat they've produced in their lifetime? All the temperature, all the energy had to be in that dot, that singularity, whatever you want to call it. And the textbooks do say there was a dot smaller than a period on a page that exploded. That's what the textbook says. I got 200 of them sitting right here in front of me. So that's my objection. That's not science. And you said they have no idea what a singularity, and about the red shift. I agree, there's a red shift. The Bible says 17 times God stretched out the heavens. That would cause the red shift. So you guys see the red shift, which is probably the Doppler effect of light. As the star goes away, there's going to be a Doppler effect that shifted toward the red end of the spectrum. I understand that. I taught physics. So the red shift is certainly happening, but it doesn't prove a Big Bang. I think it demonstrates the stars are moving away. I would go along with that. But you can't extrapolate that back billions of years. I think God created the earth first, and then he made the stars and stretched them out into place. So we're seeing a red shift from the stretching of the heavens. I agree there's a red shift. I do not agree it means that everything came from one spot. If I'm at Pensacola looking on Interstate 10 and I see a car headed east on Interstate 10 going 70 miles an hour, does that prove he started in California 3 days ago? No. If we see a star giving a red shift, does that prove it started 13.772 billion years ago from here? All the stars seem to have a red shift. It means like they're all receding from here. Well, that's what the Bible teaches. God made the earth first, then he made the stars, and then he stretched them out. So I certainly believe there's a red shift, but I believe it's caused by God stretching out the heavens. I don't think it's proof that it all came from a singularity, like you guys want to believe. So you said, I don't believe in the red shift. That's simply not true. I do. And you said a supernova can create past iron. This may be true, but stop and think. A supernova is a star exploding. That's not creating a new star. Nobody has ever seen a star form. Nobody even knows how it could happen. All the experts are saying this. Silent embarrassment is we don't know how a single one of these stars managed to form. That was 34 years ago. They still don't know. Nobody's ever seen a star form. They have theories about it, but it's not science. You yourself said science is what we can observe, study, and test. Okay, where's the observation of a star forming? Stellar evolution is a very real thing. No one understands how star formation proceeds. It's remarkable. It's imagination. Now, a supernova happens. We've seen several of those. A nova, or if it's a big one, called a supernova. But that's the destruction of a star, not the construction of a star. Nobody's seen one form. And so to see a star blow up once in a while, and maybe it can make heavier iron elements, I don't know. I'll do some research on that. But even if it did, how would they end up here on Earth? And how's that going to help build all the stars? There are 70 sextillion stars observable from Earth. There might be more. Those are the ones we know about. We don't even know about the ones we don't know about. So there might be a lot more. But that we're seeing them blow up once in a while. That's all they're seeing. Nobody sees a star form. How many stars are there? A whole bunch. 70 sextillion is the current number that they estimate. And God made the stars, the Bible says, and then he stretched out the heavens. 70 sextillion stars. Might be 3 times more than that. Everybody on Earth cut only 11 trillion of them. Do you really believe all those fit in a singularity or a dot, whatever you want to call it? Do you really believe all that energy from all those stars? Just our little star, the sun, puts off an awful lot of energy. That had to be squeezed in that dot too. Where's this energy and matter coming from? You guys do not have a coherent theory. You have a magic imagination of how it just came into existence. That's not science. That's my point. You have a religion. You believe in evolution. You don't know this happened, but you want to teach it like it's part of science and put it in all the science textbooks. That's the way you get your religion spread to the rest of the kids, by teaching them all came from a singularity. And look, boys and girls, we see a red shift. Yeah, I agree, we see a red shift. It does not prove anything other than we see a red shift, and the star is probably moving away. It doesn't prove it's been moving away for billions of years. It doesn't prove it all came from one dot. If I see a crowd of people all moving away from an event, does that mean they used to all be crammed in a golf ball? No, the crowd is moving away from the event. So I see stars moving away. That's as far as we can take it. That's science. Anything more than that's religion. Then organic evolution, and these first 3, you have to have this as part of your theory. Where did matter come from? Where did time come from? Where did space come from? Where did the stars come from? Where did the planets come from? How do we get all these 92 elements plus the synthetic ones? You guys want to skip all this. But without that, you don't have a foundation for any more evolution. What is evolving? Where did it come from? Oh, we came from an amoeba. Well, where'd the amoeba come from? From pond scum. Okay, where'd the pond come from? You don't have a coherent theory. You have a religious belief. You're teaching magic to the kids. Look, boys and girls, the amoeba turned into a human. I resent that. Go ahead.
Okay, Kent, thank you so much for that response. And let's hand it over to David for whatever you'd like to respond to. I'll leave it up to you, David, I guess. There might be some points there you want to address. We can keep it free flowing, or however you want to proceed. Go ahead, David.
I kind of resent the fact that I was trying to explain those 5 or 6 definitions of evolution, which Kent already went through right there, but you didn't let me have enough time to get through mine. It's a whole lot harder to show the proof than it is to just say, oh, there's nothing. Nobody's seen it. How do you know nobody's seen it? Did you talk to all the astronomers and see that nobody's seen it? If you put my slides back up.
And David, and no worries, you can respond to whatever you'd like to. I just want to at least make sure, and we're doing good so far. I just don't want any single response to go over. I mean, I'd prefer them to not go over 3 minutes, but currently we're at like 5-6 minutes each. So, it's going to be up to you. If we keep going 5-minute responses, then obviously we're not going to get a free flowing discussion. But, I'll leave it up to you right now. You're in the affirmative. So however you want to proceed, go ahead.
Okay. Well, as Kent said, you can't have evolution without cosmic evolution. Kent showed well that he doesn't know what a singularity is. And I tried to get a chance to explain that, which I was shut down. So I'm doing the best I can because there's an awful lot of evidence for things. And, you're right, Kent. If one car is on the freeway going 70 miles an hour somewhere, you're right. You can't tell where he's going. However, if they look at a whole series of cars, maybe they have radar or something, and all the cars have left and are heading away from Dinosaur Adventureland. Well, it probably means that all those cars were at Dinosaur Adventureland and they were leaving, going different directions. That's the cosmic background radiation is as predicted, going in different directions. There was another set of scientists that were measuring the temperatures, and they said, with an expansion like the Big Bang, it should have been very hot and it would have cooled off by now. So if I were measuring background temperature, I would think it'd be about 4 Kelvin. So they came up with an experiment where they could measure that, and sure enough, it was exactly 4 Kelvin. So they were able to predict by measurements, observation, and experimentation exactly what the cosmic background radiation should be. Expansion of the universe, again, the cars, the cars can go a different direction. So how do you know that when God stretched out the universe that he didn't just pull it out like that? What they're seeing through observation, experimentation, and measurement is they're seeing that all these stars have redshift, which means they're moving away from us, but they're not all moving directly away from us. They're all moving away from a point somewhere in the universe. That point that they're moving away from happens to be the same point that the cosmic radiation was pointing towards. So here we have scientific experiment that shows the background radiation, scientific experiment that shows the movement of the stars and galaxies, and then the amounts and distributions of elements. Again, they like you seem to have measured stars, where the stars are. They have spectrographs that can measure certain elements, certain materials, and so they know that how the elements should be distributed, and sure enough, elements are distributed in the manner that they predicted. And let me just go real quick to tell you, a singularity is not a dot, okay? It's a mathematical representation of the opposite of infinity, okay? So you keep saying that all this stuff fits into a little dot, but it's not a dot, it's a singularity. And it doesn't mean the same thing as a little dot. It means a mathematical representation of the opposite of infinity, okay? So energy was somewhere, and again, maybe we don't know where that energy came from. It doesn't make it non-science because we don't know parts of things. You seem to think that just because we don't know, then it's not science. It is science, and there are people studying that, and maybe someday we will know. But you cannot say all matter and energy and everything that's in the universe. You're trying to make people see
10 seconds.
Like a sponge. Everything's crammed in there, and it's not like that. The stuff that came out of the Big Bang, the expansion, was energy. Energy can come out of a place like that. I believe it was like a white hole. If you look up white hole, they are compressed energy, and when they expand, that energy is released. If you think about the Einstein's theory of relativity, you'll see that energy is equal to mass E equals mc squared by the same equation.
David, that's over 6 minutes now. I don't want to
Okay.
interrupt you, but we got to end it at some point. So I do appreciate that. So here's my recommendation currently, and I'm going to leave it up to you guys at this point since we do have these things on the table. So David, you started, and then Kent responded. Then you went another round here, and now Kent's going to respond, and we'll give him equal time, 6 minutes. And then my recommendation, at least, David, then we'll have you pick maybe 1 point, and then we'll go back and forth with it. I also do want to make sure we get to biological evolution. But, again, it's my recommendation. That's how I feel we should proceed, but I'll leave it up to you, gentlemen. So, Kent, we'll give you 6 minutes, and then we'll go from there.
All right. Thank you so much. David, here's a textbook used in our public schools. Prentice Hall, a major publisher, I think one of the top 3 or 4 publishers. How was the universe born, and how will it end? Most astronomers believe 18 to 20 billion years ago. This is an older textbook. They've now changed it to 13.77. All the matter in the universe was concentrated into one very dense, very hot region that may have been much smaller than a period on this page. I'm not making it up. This is what the kids are being taught. If that's not scientifically accurate, then help me change the textbooks, please. Because this is what the kids are taught. It came from a dot smaller than a period. And you yourself said a singularity is the opposite of infinity. Well, duh, that if infinity is forever, then the singularity is a tiny dot. You got all the matter has to come from somewhere. All the energy's got to come from somewhere. You just believe it happened by magic. And you said, if we don't know, that doesn't mean someday we won't know. Okay, that's fine. But that takes it outside the realm of science. We don't know how cows came from an amoeba. Okay, well then don't put a chart in the book and say they did. The books say they did. They say the Earth formed 4.6 billion years ago. It was a hot ball of rock. So when I say you evolutionists believe you came from a rock, You do believe you came from a rock because the earth cooled down, was a hot ball of rock. It rained on the rocks for millions of years and turned them into soup. Earth started as a ball of very, very hot liquid, cooled down, became a rock, rained on the rocks, and the earth and the water in the ponds and stuff came alive. This is not science, but it's in all the textbooks, and I resent it. So I would like simply to teach science in science class and completely ignore the evolution religion. It has nothing whatsoever to do with science. We've never seen a universe create itself. We've never seen a singularity explode and make everything, or not explode, rapidly expand fast, 30 times faster than the speed of light is what they're now teaching. One of them had 300 times faster than the speed of light. We've never seen chemicals form at the higher elements. You can imagine that a supernova might do it. Well, great. Can you show this happening? Can you show how those chemicals would get to Earth? We've never seen a planet form. We've never seen a star form. And you said it looks like all the stars are receding from a point. Again, are all the cars leaving Dinosaur Adventureland? So you want to extrapolate, all the cars are leaving Dinosaur Adventureland. So you want to extrapolate back, and that means all those cars were in a dot smaller than a period. No, they were all in a parking lot maybe, and they expanded from there. But they didn't come out of a golf ball or a marble. So the idea that we can see stars giving a redshift, I agree. That's where the science stops. Then it's imagination, SpongeBob style, that they all fit in a dot smaller than a period on a page. So I think I'm right. The textbooks do teach stars and everything. All that matter and energy was in a singularity. If it's the opposite of infinity, you taught math, so did I. Well, that would be nothing or near nothing. Actually, technically, it'd be nothing. So where did time, space, and matter come from? Stellar evolution is critical, but really the purpose of this debate is to get into where's the evidence for evolution. I'm talking about macroevolution. We've never seen an animal produce anything other than its kind, but the textbooks teach they change to something else. Macroevolution is where an animal changes to something else. A vague term for the great evolution of great phenotypic changes, okay? 4 processes of evolution. There are 339 breeds of dogs. They had a common ancestor called a dog. So, David, do you believe that dogs have an ancestor that was an amoeba? An amoeba certainly is not the same kind as a dog, not the same species. Did these dogs have a common ancestor with an... Oh, why aren't my slides showing? Oh, I don't have them in slide view. Okay, I'm sorry. 68, Alt-DV, 68, enter. Okay. Do you believe all these dogs had a common ancestor, which was an amoeba? That's what the books show. I resent that. That's not science. So I think you are confused about what the word evolution means. Evolution, if you want to have it mean change over time, sure. These dogs have changed over time, mostly because of man's intervention. And we now have Chihuahuas and Great Danes, and they might have had a common ancestor called a dog. Can we therefore extrapolate that to say these changes we see within dogs mean that dogs are related to bananas and pine trees? That's what they do, and I think that's stupid. Certainly not science. So I would like to see evolution taken out of the schools, got nothing to do with science. If you think it's something important ought to be taught, great. Teach it to your kids at home. Or start a private school and teach it to whoever wants to learn it. But these charts are not science. This is propaganda. This is magic. We all came from a single-celled creature, which came from a dot. I'm sorry, a singularity. I believe that's crazy. Go ahead.
Okay, thank you, Kent. We are all equally timed here, and fantastic debate so far. This is a ton of fun, and the chat is very lively tonight. So lots of questions coming in. David, let's hand it over to you now, and you can choose the direction or topic you'd like to discuss. Go ahead.
I just want to go back to the slides a minute, just briefly. And then I'm going to address some of the 47 points that Kent brought up. Once again, in every other debate that you've had over the past 3 months, you always say you can't talk about evolution until you have talked about these 6 things, okay? And now I'm trying to talk about these 6 things, and you keep interrupting. There's no way I can show you the scientific proof because we have to break and do something else. If you notice this picture in
Well,
the
David,
middle
I'm just gonna stop you there because as moderator, I've asked the live chat, and they feel that 5 to 6 minute responses is more than enough. So I'm not sure if that would be considered an interruption after 5 or 6 minutes. Do you think 5 or 6 minute responses is fair, or you want more than that, David?
I think it's very fair. I'm sorry that I have too much evidence for the theory of evolution. It is a little frustrating because I start going through things. We have to break and go back to Kent, and then he repeats his dogs produce dogs and cows produce cows. We've heard that 2 or 3 times already. Here I have a picture, if you can see in the middle there. They're saying that scientists have witnessed the birth of a heavy element in space. So you can no longer say that scientists haven't seen heavy elements. And then organic evolution, which I'll skip over for time. Microevolution, somehow I missed something because I really wanted you to see. In solar evolution here, scientists have just witnessed, this has been in the last week or so, witnessed the birth of a magnetar. They've witnessed the birth of 2 stars and have observed it in stunning detail. There is the birth of a star captured on photos, and there's the link. Scientists have for many years, as long as I can remember, they've talked about stellar nurseries. And apparently you don't know about that term, but they've talked about that. This is how Kent thinks evolution works. Let me just, I'm trying to go fast. I'm going to miss things. Whoops. This diagram that you despise and you keep showing, even though you despise it, shows all of our supposed ancestors. There is no direct link between a whale, an amoeba, and a man. Okay, so if you want me to say I'm related to a man or a whale, I'm not. If you look over here on the left, here's another diagram that has lines and a bunch of things on it, and I'll bet you can't pick one name off of this Bible family that you're related to. And they have all these lines and everything going every which way, but you can't pick that out. Here is single cells going to multicellular life. There are 4 different experiments here, totally separate. The men are not manipulating the bacteria. All they've done is give them good stuff to live in. We'll skip that one. Skip that one. No, I can't find my.
You got 20 seconds till the 5-minute mark, David. That'll be the time response for this round. Actually, why don't we just call it quits there, because I think that was a fair amount of time with some decent points brought up. That's 5 minutes, and let's now hand it over to Kent. Right. And appreciate it. So here we go, Kent, over to you.
Well, thank you so much. Yes, there are 6 different meanings to the word evolution. You guys want to focus on microevolution, variations within the same kind. I agree, that one happened. That's science. Everything else is religion before that. Microevolution within a species or a small group of organisms. But you put the charts showing humans and birds and reptiles and ladybugs and pine trees having a common ancestor with worms. We see variations of humans. There's tall ones and short ones and dark skin and light skin and red hair and blonde hair and brown hair, but they're still human. We see variations of cows, but they're still cows. We don't see this, but you make the charts like there's some kind of science. I say, guys, this isn't science. Just because you draw a line on paper connecting a biology teacher down with a sponge and a worm and a frog, that's not science. That's a religion. That's magic. This is the kind of trees of life that adorn all the textbooks that are pure propaganda. This one shows everything is related. Do you believe you are related to an octopus, David, if you go long ago and far away? Do you believe you're related to an octopus? The chart shows the octopus having a common ancestor with humans. Is this science? This one shows all the animals and all the plants and all the fungi have a common ancestor. Do you believe pine trees are related to elephants? That's what they're showing the kids. We see lots of variation within the kind, and that's it. Everything outside that circle is science. There's a lot of varieties of horses. Maybe horses and zebras had a common ancestor. Okay, I wouldn't argue with that. But that doesn't prove horses and pine trees have a common ancestor, like they show in this chart. This isn't science. This is religion. That's all it is. All the many forms of life on Earth today are descended from a common ancestor. Really. So the pine tree and the whale have a common ancestor. That's what this book says. I think that's propaganda. I think that's stupid. I think it's not science. It's ridiculous. That's a magic show is what it is. And they came from a primitive unicellular organism. So the textbooks do teach all the life forms had a common ancestor, which was a single-celled organism like an amoeba or something similar to that, a protozoa. This I resent. I would like to see some evidence. The whole purpose of this whole debate series that the Standing for Truth is putting on, where's the evidence for evolution? Where is the evidence that would make this chart become scientific? This chart has the humans and the birds and the whales and the dinosaurs all coming from a common ancestor. Where's the scientific evidence of any animal ever producing babies that were different than its same kind? And if you say, well, it takes millions of generations, well, then we're not seeing it. You said science is things we can observe, study, and test. Okay, where's the observation for stuff like this chart? Nobody's ever observed this. This is magic. This is SpongeBob stuff. This isn't science. Nobody ought to be paying to teach this to all the kids in school. And you might have been taught this as a kid, and you might have believed it. Apparently you did. I'm sorry, we'll try to fix that. But it's nonsense, David. There's no evidence of any dog producing a non-dog or a cow producing a non-cow, but they want to put them in the chart here. Look at this, everything, sharks and trees, wow, and broccoli. You believe sharks and broccoli are related to a common ancestor? The chart shows them. This one certainly does. All the plants and all the animals, just put a word, just draw a line on paper, and that makes it science. This is not science, it's nonsense, and I resent it. So I think it's crazy to teach that humans and birds have a common ancestor, but that's what they do. And crocodiles. There it is, common ancestor. This is religion inside this circle. These charts are propaganda. They're evil. They should not be taught. Okay? That's my 4 minutes. Go ahead.
Okay, thank you, Kent. And David, go ahead.
Once again, if you'll go back to my slides, please. Again, I would be interested to know at what grade level that textbook you're reading is. I know to you it's advanced science, but to me it's looks like 8th grade maybe. Those diagrams that you keep pointing at and keep saying, we teach this to our kids. I don't think so. I asked my sister, who is a 5th grade teacher. I asked Conspiracy Cats, who is a 8th grade teacher. None of them teach that. They may show it and go past it, but they don't teach all that stuff. Those diagrams really aren't any good because there's about 150 steps between each one of those each one of those pictures on that diagram. And somehow you think, oh, this is what, Dr. So-and-so teaches to his college biology class, and it's bad. Well, it's not. So maybe you should check the real texts, the current texts, and see what they're teaching. Here I have kinds, and I was going to start on this with a different story, but I'm going to talk about kinds here. So we really have not gotten a clear definition of kind. There certainly is a definition of species. It's a group of individual organisms that interbreed, producing fertile, viable offspring. Can't be more clear than that. And I know you always say that species doesn't have a good definition. Well, it does. There it is right there. Kind, we don't know. Nobody has ever been able to show what a kind is, clear back to Noah. Nobody knows what a kind is. And you say, oh, sure. Even a kid can say, that horse and that horse are the same kind. And male horses always know, what a female horse is. So then how do you get a donkey to interbreed with a horse? Because the donkey should be able to look at that horse and say, nope, that's not what I'm looking for. Yes, you say cows produce cows, dogs produce dogs, monkeys produce monkeys, and nobody in the history of the world has ever seen anything else. And for evolutionists, you would say, how do you know that? How do you know that? Were you there? Were you there? Have you talked to every farmer in existence? But for you, you just kind of skim over it. Here on the left, I have a bunch of people that have how many kinds were on the ark. They all have a different number. Everybody you talk to has a different number. But I'm going to guess, okay? So I've heard family.
20 seconds.
I just have to mention here that I bet you've never seen a Great Dane give birth to a purebred Chihuahua. Here I have kinds. These are kinds of cattle. All of these belong to the same family. They're kinds. So on Noah's Ark, if you had two of these cows, these cattle, tell me how those got to produce a bison. Somehow, those cows gave birth to a bison because we have bison and they're the same kind as that cow. Okay.
And that's time, David. That's
okay.
time. That's 5 minutes.
I'll stop there, but it's the same thing, kind after kind. You seem to, well, never mind.
Okay, there we go. 5 minutes on the dot. Kent, over to you whenever you're ready.
Oh, start my clock over here. Well, thank you, David. I think you proved my point very well. All the different bison, the yak, and all those ones are obviously in the cow kind. They have horns, they have hooves, they have a tail on the back, a nose on the front. They have an udder at the back that gives milk if it's female. Therefore, because there's varieties of those kind of animals, you think those are related to a pine tree and an amoeba and a squash and a watermelon? That's not science. It's nonsense. You have these different kinds of cows you just showed us. Now, I don't know how many varieties Noah had on the ark and how many different animals were on the ark. You put up a couple numbers. AIG thinks it's 20,000. I think that would fit on the ark, no problem. And that may certainly be. But see, to get all the different kinds of animals today from 20,000 pairs or 20,000 animals on the ark is understandable. You want to believe all the animals today came from a rock, which came from a singularity. This is insane. You laugh at all the animals coming from 20,000 animals getting off the ark and don't think you can get a buffalo from a yak. And yet you think you can get a buffalo from a dot. Wake up, David. You've been brainwashed. This isn't science. You've been taught something that's insane. Yes, I've always said cows produce cows and dogs produce dogs because cows produce cows. I've never said a Great Dane gave birth to a full-blooded or purebred Chihuahua. I think man has selectively bred dogs until they got what they wanted, a completely useless dog called a Chihuahua. The only thing good for it is hawk bait, okay? Only thing they're good for. But they're still a dog. And in the wild, they wouldn't survive. Turn all the dogs in the world that man has created, all 339 breeds, turn them all out into the woods. Within 1 year, 80% of them would be gone. They couldn't survive. You got to babysit them. They've created dogs now that you got to babysit. You got to keep. They have to have man to protect them and provide and feed them. They couldn't provide for their own. I think left to themselves, they would all dwindle down to a few different varieties. I don't know how many Noah had on the ark of the dog kind. But for me to say 339 breeds of dogs might have come from a dog on Noah's ark or a pair of dogs, okay. First, I'm not asking that to be taught in the school system at taxpayer expense. But B, that's logical. It's more logical to believe all the dogs came from two dogs than to believe all the dogs came from a singularity. Do you believe all the Great Danes and all the Chihuahuas and all the water buffalo came from a singularity? I know you do. You won't admit it tonight, but that is what you just basically said that. Everything was in a singularity, the opposite of infinity. How can you not see how dumb that is, that all the dogs in the world came from a dot, from an explosion? This isn't science. It's never been observed. It's not even possible. It's not logic. It's not common sense. I don't need any more time than that, Donnie. I think what they're teaching is propaganda. I think it's evil to teach kids that stuff. These charts are stupid. And you said they skip over these charts. Well, then take it out of the book. I want all of them out of the book. You teach biology. Are they in your biology books, these charts like that? Yeah, and they expect the teachers to teach it. And the kids get tested on it. And when they go to college, they're going to be tested on it. This is propaganda. This is communist Soviet style indoctrination is all it is. To say an elephant and a water buffalo and a hippopotamus are related. Okay, you can believe that if you want, but it's not science. I'll stick by my guns on that one. So let's see, did I cover it? Yeah, well, about family, one last thing. Man has decided to classify things into groups: kingdom, phylum, class, order, family, genus, species. I don't know where the division was for Noah to take the kinds on the ark. I don't know that the kind definition matches our Carolus Linnaeus definition at every place. Maybe the cows don't care what we call them or how we classify them. I don't think they do. I don't think the pigs care. But we have decided to put pigs and cows in a different family, or probably in the same, obviously the same kingdom and phylum and genus, or not a family and genus, but they're not the same species, they're not the same genus. But this is all arbitrary definitions that man has put on them. A 4-year-old will tell you a Great Dane and a Chihuahua and a wolf are the same kind. They look like a dog. A 4-year-old can tell you a Great Dane and a watermelon are not the same kind. So you think a Great Dane and a watermelon have a common ancestor, which was an amoeba, which came from a rock, which came from a dot of nothing. And you want to make fun of the Christian worldview because some people think 20,000 animals were on the ark? You think all the billions of animals were in a dot. Your turn.
Okay, thank you so much, Kent. I do want to say, gentlemen, time is flying by. We got a fantastic audience, lots of audience questions. So unfortunately, we don't have enough time to do really long, 5-6 minute responses anymore. So David, you being the affirmative today in terms of evolution, I did see several points brought up in your slides. So maybe there's a couple questions you wanted to ask Kent, or like a couple real quick lines of evidence you wanted to present. Just for the last few minutes of discussion. Go ahead, David.
So, Kent, you clearly stated that if science doesn't know, then that's a bad thing. But you don't know what kind is, how many kinds were on the ark. Didn't it say to take 2 of every kind? So that slide that I had showed cattle kind. So he took 2 of the cattle kind onto the ark. When they come off the ark, they have to produce somehow a bison, an ox, water buffalo. Those are all the same kind. But you say, nowhere in the world has anyone seen a cow not produce a cow. Well, it had to have produced one once. And I have similar slides for monkeys and dogs. And I'm just curious, how do you think 2 dogs producing a bison is not evolution because it's in a kind rather than something that over a period of time evolved into a bison? That's all I have.
All right. I have never said that science doesn't know is being a bad thing. I think it's wonderful. Science needs to know. Here's where it stops. We don't know. Stop. That's outside the realm of science. That's all I've ever said. It's a good thing to admit, I don't know. That's what science is for, is to study new things and try to learn and try to gain new knowledge. That's what man has done for centuries. Try to gain new knowledge. I'm for it. The word science means knowledge. Seer, Latin, know. What do we know? We know dogs produce dogs. That we know. I have never said that dogs produced a bison. You said that. You believe dogs came from a rock, don't you? Which came from a singularity, which came from an explosion, a random explosion of all the matter squeezed into a singularity, whatever that is, and therefore it produced all the dogs and all the buffalo. So I don't know that all the ones you showed on screen, the yak and the water buffalo and the bison, all had a common ancestor. Maybe they did. But I'd sure easier to believe that the bison and the yak and the cow had a common ancestor than to believe the bison and the watermelon had a common ancestor. This chart shows the bison and the watermelon and the snake and the bear and the mosquito all have a common ancestor. Do you believe bison have a common ancestor with mosquitoes, David? Just a yes or no?
No, I don't. And I told you that the charts are worthless. And you keep going back to the chart. The chart. We teach this chart in school, and it's worthless. Well, it is worthless because it doesn't show the way things are. It shows a very, very, very simplified picture in order to give someone just a vague picture of what goes on. Okay? It is not like you seem to think it's some kind of doctrine or something, and it's not. So you're saying that 2 cows produced a water buffalo, and I didn't say dogs produced water buffalo, by the way. I said cows produced a water buffalo. And dogs have to produce all of those other things besides the 300 dog kind that you keep talking about. What about a maned wolf or a raccoon dog or a coyote or dingo? Those are all dog kind, and somehow they have to be produced somehow. And if Noah's flood is 2,000 years before Christ, that doesn't give them a whole lot of time to get to that bison or that raccoon dog or whatever. You're talking about things that happen, but then you're putting words into my mouth that I didn't say, because I didn't say that a mosquito was related to a whale or whatever. You're the one that reads a chart made for grade school and tries to produce your doctrine of creation by looking at that. You seem to have forgotten all of the points that I made where I gave you clear scientific evidence with observation, measurements, experiments, and different scientists doing it, so it's not everybody coming up with something, and you just toss that away so that you can pull your own slides out. And
okay, let's give Kent a chance to respond, David. I just want to make sure that
I'm
we're
done.
keeping these responses short. Appreciate it. Go ahead, Kent.
Okay. I have said probably all the 250 varieties of cows, which I think includes the bison and the water buffalo and the yak. I'm not sure how man has classified them. I'm sure the cows don't care how we classify them. But let's assume that all those 250 varieties of cows had a common ancestor getting off in Noah's Ark. David, do you believe all those cows fit into that singularity?
I told you before, it wasn't cows, it was energy, and energy came out of that singularity, and the mass was produced after that. And no, the 300 and whatever cows were not in that singularity. They came much billions of years later, and I think you know that. What you're trying to do is confuse the issue.
Okay. Was the matter that created all those cows, was the matter in that singularity? All the water buffalo, all the buffalo that the people killed out west the last 200 years, all that matter was in that singularity. Is that your position? Or the energy produced all that matter that produced all the buffalo and all the cows and all the birds. Is that your position? Yes, everything came from a singularity.
All that energy was located in that white hole. And yes, all that energy came out. Just like if a star explodes and produces a supernova, it was similar to that. And no, it wasn't an explosion like you just mentioned before. I thought we had broken you of that. You seem to have gone back to it.
So it's a rapid expansion. Okay. Do you believe that energy produced matter that over billions of years became a cow?
Yes, I do believe that.
Do you believe that same matter over billions of years produced a mosquito?
I suppose that's correct as well.
So
however, a mosquito doesn't produce a cow.
I agree. But a cow and a mosquito had a common ancestor in your religion. I mean, in your theory. Is that correct?
No, I don't think so.
You just said they both came from
singularity. A mosquito is along a line of a family line different than the family line that produced the cow. They don't have a common ancestor, and you seem to I see you bringing up that 8th grader thing again.
Okay, this one's a college textbook right here. Use this one instead.
Is it a college textbook? Can you show me the textbook?
That's a college level textbook showing a family tree of everything coming from a common ancestor. So this one has insects on there and cows going back to a common ancestor.
Can you show me that came out of a college textbook?
Take me a few minutes. I've got hundreds of textbooks, but I just Google family tree and see for yourself.
I did. I
All the
did,
major,
and I
all
got
the
some of
major
those.
universities teach this. Harvard, Berkeley, all of them teach this propaganda, that we all came from a single common ancestor. Wait, look at this
Do
one.
they?
This is
Which
a
one?
college textbook, the
Which of
phylogenetic
those
tree of life.
colleges have you attended? Which
Now,
of those colleges?
we're
Berkeley,
going way off topic here.
Harvard?
David, the
No,
purpose of the debate is for you to offer
you
evidence
brought
for
it up.
evolution. Now, we're not here to debate the flood of Noah and how many animals were on the ark. We can do that if you'd like. But Donnie, you need to moderate here. The purpose of the debate is for him to show evidence for evolution. He's not shown any evidence of a cow coming from a non-cow or a dog coming from a non-dog. Yet he's shown that he believes the singularity turned into mosquito and the singularity turned into cow. Therefore, the cow and the mosquito have a common ancestor. How can you not see this?
Because it's over 13.8 billion years.
Oh, add time. That'll
Yes,
help
I'm
it. That's the
muted.
magic part. Just imagine if we add time. So if you kiss the frog and it turns to a prince, that's magic. But if you wait
No.
millions of years and the frog turns to a prince, that's science.
Yeah.
So, David,
You are.
is it your position that mosquitoes and plants don't go back on the same tree of life to a universal common ancestor? Are you saying they're not related through common ancestry, mosquitoes and
I'm
plants?
saying that on
Biology
that, on that tree of life that he has shown right there, they do go back to the common ancestor. But that diagram right there is useless because it doesn't show every step in between those two steps.
Okay,
So
but
if
you do.
say-
Okay, but David, you do admit that regardless of the size of the tree or how many lines are there showing the steps, you do believe that mosquitoes and humans go back essentially to a universal common ancestor. They're ultimately related through common ancestry, correct?
Yeah, I suppose you could
Okay,
go ahead and say that.
Okay, and I think that's simply what.
You backed me into a corner, so yes, I'll agree to that. However, I do want to say that, I covered cosmic evolution and many proofs that go along with that. I covered solar evolution and proofs of that, even pictures of stars being born. I covered
Well, David, what we'll do here,
evolution.
I don't want to interrupt you, but I want to give you your closing statement. You know what we'll do? Because we've already gone over in terms of the discussion. Very good discussion. We could always do a round 2 as well if you guys really want to dig deeper. But I do really want to. We've had a really big audience tonight, and I want to show them the respect at least to get to some of the audience questions. So let's do this. Let's do 2-minute concluding statements, David, if you want to wrap up your thoughts and points, and you can continue with these current thoughts if you'd like to. We'll do the same for Kent, and then we'll get to some audience questions. Go ahead, David.
Okay, so my closing statement is that I gave Kent evidence for cosmic evolution, which he ignores. I gave Kent evidence for solar evolution, including the birth of stars, and he ignored that. I gave him evidence of chemical evolution, and even showed a YouTube video where scientists have found a heavy element in space. And I talked about kinds, the kinds like Kent always talks about, but he ignores what I said and goes back to his dogs produce dogs, cows produce cows, but we're going to ignore bison because he doesn't know where bison came from. He doesn't even know how many dog kind there were on the ark. And so that's all I have for a closing statement. If you want to let Kent close.
David, thank you very much. And Kent, go ahead. At the same time, we'll give you 2 minutes. Go ahead.
Ooh, 2 minutes. Okay. Thank you, David, for doing this. It's hard to find people who believe in evolution willing to debate. I'd like to get over 300, so get your friends to do this. Biology, life on Earth. Let's see. University of Colorado, Denver, and University of Massachusetts, Amherst has the chart here. I've got hundreds of textbooks. This one shows the tree of life. If I can get it to focus here. Same tree. I'll just explain it to you. It shows that humans and mushrooms and lizards and pine trees go back to a common ancestor. They're teaching this in the college. Whether you want to deny it or not, it's what's being taught. And obviously, that's what you believe. If everything came from a singularity, all the mosquitoes came from a singularity, you came from a singularity. That was real crowded in that dot, David. I mean, everybody, all the humans in the world, all the energy from all the stars. Let's see, this one is, what universities use this one? Take me a while to find that. University of Missouri, St. Louis. Let's see. Protista and plants and animals all having a common ancestor. And this one shows what's all related here. Oh, the tuna and the rattlesnake and the humans. Let's see, humans, rattlesnakes, tuna, moth, mold, yeast, all have a common ancestor. This is what they teach. This is really what evolution is, that all the many forms of life on Earth, like this one says, all the many forms of life on Earth had a common ancestor found in a population of primitive unicellular organisms. This is what is being taught. This is not science. It is propaganda. It is stupid. Nobody's ever seen a mushroom produce a non-mushroom. Those guys that are eating some of these mushrooms are seeing all kinds of strange things, okay? But that's not science. You said that you showed me evidence of cosmic evolution. No, you didn't. You demonstrated that scientists have observed a red shift. I agree. Then you extrapolate that red shift to mean it all came from a singularity. So we see everybody leaving Dinosaur Adventureland. Therefore, everybody there used to be in a marble. No, they might have all been in our parking lot, and they might have all driven away from Dinosaur Adventureland, and the stars might be expanding from a common point. I suspect it's the Earth, but that's not proof of cosmic evolution. It doesn't explain where the energy came from, where the matter came from, where did space come from for this singularity to expand into? Where did three-dimensional space come from? And if this happened 13.772 billion years ago, what was there 13.773 billion years ago? What was there? Where did this matter come from? Where did this singularity come from? And if they don't know, then it's not science. Your whole theory is based on imagination. It's SpongeBob. You need to get a new theory. I recommend you start believing the Bible. You're going to find everything in it scientifically accurate and true. Go ahead, David. Donnie.
Okay, thank you, Kent. David and Kent, thank you so much for those concluding statements. I understand that time does fly by, but I do hope you both feel like you had enough time to make your points and make the arguments you wanted to. So what we'll do is a power round when it comes to the audience Q&A, okay? Let's try and do our best to keep the responses to a minute. Let's say the questions for Kent. Kent gets 1 minute. David, you can have 1 minute to rebut. Kent can have the final minute to have the last word. So here we go. Let's get to, let's see, the first question. So we got a lot here, but I want to make sure I don't. Okay, so here's one that comes in from Boomer21. Appreciate the super chat and the question. This one is for you, David. So he asks, if the Earth is over 4 billion years old, how is it that all surface water hasn't reached the same salinity rates as the Dead Sea due to erosion and water runoff? Go ahead, David.
This is a little far off the topic since I haven't really looked into this, but I can tell you that the ocean and the whatever it is, the Dead Sea are completely different. The Dead Sea has no incoming water. It is standalone. No water comes in except rainfall. The ground around the Dead Sea is all salt. You can go back to Lot and his wife and see how she was turned into a pillar of salt because there was salt all around there. That's why that's because it's salt. The ocean is vast, enormously bigger. It picks up chemicals off of the shore. When tides go in and come back out, it has dissolved chemicals. So it has its own makeup. The Dead Sea has its own makeup. Salt Lake has its own makeup, as long as it's going to be there, I guess. I'm done.
Okay, thank you very much, David. We'll hand it over to Kent. The floor is yours.
All right, the Dead Sea does receive water from the Jordan River, and a couple other rivers flow into the Dead Sea. Evaporation takes it out. It has no output other than evaporation. The Dead Sea is getting saltier because it's of this exact same process. The ocean is also going through the same process, receiving lots of rivers flowing in, evaporation taking water out, leaving the minerals behind. The oceans are getting saltier. This has been known for a long time. The oceans today average 3.6, 3.5% salt. They are gaining salinity all the time. I cover this very thoroughly on videotape number 1 of my series. I don't have time to give a long answer. But yes, the oceans are getting saltier. If they were billions of years old, they would be saltier than they are today. The Dead Sea is much saltier than the oceans because it's smaller scale. But the question is legitimate. If the Earth is billions of years old, the ocean should be a lot saltier than 3.6%. Why aren't they? Because it's not billions of years old. Simple answer. Go ahead.
Okay, Kent, thank you for the response. And David, you get the last word. This question was for you.
Let me just say you're incorrect. The oceans are not getting saltier. There may be a little change from year to year or from Atlantic to Antarctica. There are changes, but the ocean itself is not getting saltier or full of chemicals. And I'll leave that.
Okay, gentlemen, appreciate you guys keeping it to the time limit there. So here we go. Next question that comes in. This one's going to be for Kent. We got a nice healthy balance of questions for the both of you. So SWE, thank you so much for the super chat support and questions. So she asks, what does Kent make of the fact that the whale embryo nose starts out in a position more typical of mammals, parallel to the palate, and ends on the top of the head, terminating into a blowhole?
I think the whale was designed beautifully to develop inside the mother at different stages of its life. It's being developed, okay? So the fact that the whale has the blowhole on the back of the head is really appropriate. It's really handy when they come up to breathe, okay? I think the whale appreciates it right where it is. So the idea of it migrating from the front to the back where it is today, you got a real problem. It's got to go through the optic nerve from the eyes. It's got to do a lot of problems to try to say it just migrated there over millions of years. I think it was designed exactly like it is. Whales produce baby whales every single time. Nobody's ever seen a whale produce a non-whale or come from a non-whale. You can imagine it if you like, but that's not science. Okay, go ahead.
Appreciate it, Kent. David, over to you. Floor is yours.
I'm going to say that the development of the blowhole, like Kent just said, was the way the whale developed or evolved. Had its nose on the front, and its nose evolved to be on the back. And that's a good thing because it would drown otherwise, especially if it swims like I do. I'm done.
Thank you very much, David. Kent, you can have a last word. The question was for you.
Well, David, I would challenge you to explain then how the nose could migrate from the front to the back, and by going through the optic nerve and through the brain and how it did all this without killing the animal. I think what you have just told is a story. It's not science. We've never seen this.
Each whale, if you notice a whale's anatomy, his eyes are way over here. He has a different optic nerve from this eye over here. There's quite a distance between them, and if that blowhole goes up toward the back, then it goes up toward the back. You were the one that said that it had to develop that nose on the top.
It was designed exactly like it is. Whales always produce whales. No
But that's
exception.
not what you said. You said it developed the blowhole on the top.
No, that's what you evolutionists believe. I believe it was designed with a blowhole on the top. I don't believe the whale slowly evolved and nose from the front to the middle. You guys believe
That's
that.
not what you said. That's not what
Okay,
you said.
I'm sorry. I misspoke then, or you misunderstood. I believe the whale was designed just like it is today, and they've always made baby whales just like themselves, maybe variations a little bit, but always whale, always blowhole on the top. Never been a whale any different than that.
Okay, let's give Kent the last word there, since that was his question. We'll move on. One God is now here. Thank you so much for the super chat support. And again, a question. This one's for you now, David. So he asks, how do I scientifically test and prove speciation that my school textbook teaches happened 20 million years ago?
If you're going to test and prove that, it's going to take quite a bit of complicated, extensive, advanced testing. But yes, scientists have tested those things and proven through observations and measurements the speciation. I had some really good slides of that Matthew McLean put together, the creationist, showing in transitional fossils, but that'll have to be, I can't do it here. But yes, it has been tested. They know how it works. But you have to understand that this development of evolution was not, Darwin didn't think up evolution and pizzazz. Every scientist in the world agreed. There were paleontologists, geologists, biologists, that have all worked on this independently, and then bringing their results together and finding out that their results match what it should match. They predicted what should have happened. And I think that's another thing that science does that creation just doesn't even try to do.
Thank you, David. Kent, over to you for your response.
Apologize. He said every scientist agrees that it's simply not true. There are millions of scientists who do not believe the evolution religion propaganda being pushed on all the kids. Okay, millions do not believe this stuff. Okay, so don't say everybody believes it. But even if everybody did believe it, that's not how you determine truth. Everybody could believe something that's wrong. Okay, then you said science predicts, and that's not what creation does. That's exactly the opposite, David. The creation predicts cows will always produce cows. 20 times in the first 7 chapters, God said they'll bring forth after their kind. So I predict if you crossbreed cows, you will always get a cow. I predict that. I predict our 2 pregnant cows we got up on the North 40 when I give my tour, we show the kids. I predict when they do have a baby, it's going to be a cow. How's that for a predict? I haven't even seen it yet. All I know is the cows are pregnant. I predict our chickens are going to produce baby chickens every time. Every time. I predict every animal, every plant will do that. Our pine trees are going to make pine cones that have seeds that make more pine trees. I predict they will always, always bring forth after their kind. It's evolution that makes the prediction that does not come true, that an amoeba can turn to a human. This one has a protozoa turning to a biology teacher. That's not science. That's not observable. That's stupid. Go ahead.
Thank you, Kent. David, you get the last word. Go ahead.
Thank you for that. I don't think I said that all scientists agree. I said that it takes all of these scientific disciplines together in order to explain how 20 million years ago we began speciation. Kent constantly drives home that amoeba turning into a human. The common ancestor that we had was like 13 billion years ago. And unless you can observe 13 billion years ago, then that's why you didn't observe it. The reason you don't see it today, bacteria turning into a human, is because it takes billions of years.
You guys definitely made this a fun debate to remember. That's for sure. There we go. Battle of the SpongeBob characters. What's his name again, David?
Patrick
versus SpongeBob.
Okay.
Okay, here we go.
I have never watched SpongeBob in my life. I just know somebody told me it's all based on imagination. And what he just said was, we don't see these animals turn to something else because it takes 13.7 billion years. Then it's not observable. It's not science. It's imagination. All the many forms of life came from a primitive unicellular organism. This is what the books teach. This is crazy. This is propaganda.
Okay, thank you, gentlemen. Final question we're going to get to here because, wow, time has flown by. And yeah, here we go. So it comes in from Elias. Thank you so much for the support question. So he's asking you, David, do you believe, according to, I guess, your position on evolutionary theory, that you came from a rock?
No, I don't believe that. I didn't believe it when Kent asked me. I don't believe it now. I won't believe it next week. You can let Kent have his word. We all know what he's going to say is that evolution came from rock because it rained and brought down all this crap. And there you go. You evolved from a rock. I don't believe that. I think I've watched at least 20 or 30 of your debates where people tell you life didn't come from a rock, but you still keep pushing that and teaching that to your audience. You're teaching things that are wrong.
Thank you, David. Go ahead, Ken.
The Earth started out as a ball of very, very hot liquid. Downloaded a couple years ago from the internet. Here's from The Guardian, a science magazine. A few 100 million years ago, Earth reached a melting point of iron and the core was formed. 4.54 billion years ago, the Earth formed. Swirling in the waters of the oceans is a bubbling broth of complex chemicals. Progress from a complex chemical soup to a living organism is very slow. Scientists theorize Earth began as a hot ball of rock. Let's see. It cooled down, atmosphere developed, rained on the rocks, turned them into soup, and the soup came alive. Earth was a hot ball of melted rock orbiting the sun. Berkeley University. How did our planet form? It was a hot ball of rock. This is what they teach, David. Stop denying it. You believe you came from a rock.
David, go ahead for your last word there.
Again, you're trying to make these grandiose statements, and it's not that way. In fact, every one of your points that you put on the board said it rained, chemicals went into the pond, and then life formed. Life did not come out of the rock. Life came out of the pond when the chemicals came together in a certain way. It's not out of the rock. The rain on the rocks did not create the earth or whatever you were saying. So anyway, that's what people have tried to tell you over and over, and even in your own quotes it says that. Okay.
All right. Okay, gentlemen. Real quick, we'll do maybe round two. We'll make it specifically about the rock question. I got to apologize to Frank Green here. I almost missed yours, so I'm going to sneak this in here as the final question. Then we're going to call it. I want to respect the time of the debater. So Frank Green, thank you so much. Another question for you, David. And he asks, if the world came about by chance with no laws, how do you tell right from wrong?
The world absolutely had laws. We have the law of gravity. We have the law of thermodynamics, 3 of them. And so, yes, there were all kinds of laws. Morality and what's right and wrong does not come from the Bible. It comes from people that say, you know, it was very offensive when you killed my brother, and I think we should have a law that says you can't kill somebody's brother like that. So they get up. So they come up with the law. I misspoke. I certainly do believe that morality came from the Bible. The Bible clearly teaches that it's profitable for training, for teaching, for reproof. However, that verse does not mention science in there. And I could clearly show you a couple of references where the science is either ambiguous or just plain wrong. That's all I got.
Okay, thank you, David. Kent, anything you'd like to add?
Well, I agree. The universe has laws, the law of gravity, centrifugal force, inertia, etc., the 3 laws of thermodynamics. Who's the lawgiver? Who created gravity? Why do particles attract each other? You know, where did this come from? And as far as determining right from wrong, this has been my point for decades. If evolution is true, how do you tell right from wrong? Somebody says, it offended me that you killed my brother. We should make a law about that. Well, why don't the zebras get together and make a law that the lion should not eat the baby zebra anymore? Suppose the zebras said, we're going to make it a law, no more eating baby zebras, and hand the law to the lions. They'll laugh at it. Where is the absolute standard for right and wrong? In an evolutionary worldview, it doesn't exist. There's no such thing as right and wrong in an evolutionary worldview. We had an eagle come down yesterday and ate a fish right out of our lake, right in front of me. I bet the fish didn't like it. I think the fish ought to get together and make a law. No more eagles grabbing us out of the water. Yeah, let's make a law. No, I think God created the world. God designed it. God gave the rules. And we're going to answer to God for that. And David, you're going to answer to God someday for everything you've ever said or thought or done. Everything. He's got a list of all of it. Now, my list has been wiped clean by the blood of Jesus Christ. Praise God, or else I'd be in serious trouble, okay? But I deserve to go to hell like everybody else, but I've been forgiven. I'm one of God's children. I accepted his offer. Would you like to receive my offer of salvation? Sure, Lord, I'll take it. I'd like you to get that too. Come visit Dinosaur Adventureland. David, I'll give you the tour myself.
I've already accepted the Lord as my Savior. Thank you very much. I don't need to go to Dow.
All right, gentlemen. Well, that concludes the... Oh, I'm sorry. Go ahead, David.
I just want to make one final point. I don't have my slides up, but Kent keeps saying that he doesn't want his money used to teach evolution in schools. I had some literature that shows in New Mexico, where I live, they don't use taxes to fund schools. Schools are funded differently. In Alabama, where you live, in 2015, just a few years ago, was when Alabama voted to have evolution taught in schools. It wasn't, it hasn't been taught for a century. It was only in 2015. I also happened to look up for Alabama. The United States Senate has approved having funding for private schools and homeschooling. So I would encourage you, if you don't want your kids taught in school, you can teach them at home and the government will pay for it.
Okay,
That's all
David.
I have.
Gentlemen, is that it for final words? Okay, we are done. Kent, David, thank you so much. To the audience, thank you as well. Gentlemen, we went longer than we usually do. So I am going to let you gentlemen get on out of here, Kent and David. And thank you so much for doing the debate. To the audience, I will be back in just a few seconds for some announcements and reminders. God bless all. All right, there we go. Another Evolution Debate Challenge Series debate in the books, as I like to say. And also, I do want to remind everybody, or just let everybody know, that that was our 200th debate that we've now hosted on this channel. Debates on all sorts of topics. So if you're a debate addict like myself, check the playlist section for debates hosted by Standing For Truth Ministries. And we've done debates on soteriology, theology, nature of God, morality, philosophy, creation, evolution, the question of ancestry, of course, eschatology. So many debates on so many different topics. So if you're not yet subscribed, please do make sure to hit that subscribe button, because we're just a few subscribers away from the 10,000 subscriber mark. And so again, we've got a great chat tonight, and if you're not yet subscribed, please do. We also got an awesome debate promo trailer, essentially the ultimate trailer for the Evolution Debate Challenge series. My brother from the Creation Research team, Sam Jenkins, put it together. He does fantastic editing, and so I just put it in the side chat to please check out or save for later, because I do appreciate Sam's work there. And I guess we'll announce, because it looks like John Maddox from the Logical, Plausible, Probable channel. He firstly, go make sure to subscribe to him. He's the one that does all of the memorable after shows to these memorable debates. And his after shows are unpredictable. They usually turn into secondary debates, and they get pretty wild. So if you're not yet subscribed to him, please do so. Check out his channel. He's having an after show tonight. We've also got, my brother CJ Cox here, the Synagogue. If you're not yet subscribed to him, please subscribe to his channel too. Him and I have been doing a series debunking the uninspiring compromiser, who runs from scriptural-based arguments, and he also runs from the science-based argument. So we have done so far 3 parts in that series, and we are scheduled to do the grand finale. We're scheduled to do it tonight, but I think what we'll do, CJ and I will talk through Facebook, brother. Since John's doing an after show, we'll make sure to do the grand finale after the after show. So maybe, 3 to 4 hours from now, or worst case scenario, do it on Saturday night, since tomorrow night we have a panel discussion. So CJ, just let me know through Facebook Messenger. So anyways, okay, so real quick, guys, things that come to mind in terms of future shows and debates. We've just completed last week. We had a debate marathon, 4 debates in 3 nights. This week, another debate marathon, 4 debates in 4 nights. We kicked it off with Matt Slick and John Barton. This was Matt Slick's 10th time on the channel. He'll be back here next month as well. This one was a ton of fun. Debate on the nature of God. Is oneness biblical? Last night we did the King James only controversy debate. Turretin Fan and Will Kinney. Speaking of King James only controversy debates, we've got CJ Cox and David Preston. They'll be debating our modern English translations, dangerous and untrustworthy. And then we've also got Eddie from the Brute Facts podcast and Nick Sayers debating, is the KJV the only accurate English translation? And when it comes to the Evolution Debate Challenge series, Mark Reed and Kent Hovind, that's going to be an epic showdown for sure. James W. and Kent, so lots of Clash of the Titans debates coming up, put it that way. And of course, the much anticipated round 2, at least in terms of the Evolution Debate Challenge series, Tom Jump, Dr. Dino. I think their first round is sitting at one of our most viewed debates. And if you watch the debate itself, you'll know exactly why. Last week, we had a much anticipated debate that did not disappoint. Atheist Jr. and Dr. Dino, please check that out. And we've got some soteriology debates in the mix too. So next week, we've got Pastor J.D. Martin, Reverend John Crawford debating soteriology. What is true biblical salvation? Free grace versus lordship salvation. The end of the month, we've got Charles Jennings from the Layman Seminary. He'll be debating David Preston on OT salvation. And then the next month, so they've kind of got like a 2-parter debate. One separated by a month. Then the next month, so in August, they're going to be debating James 2. So that's going to be very cool too. Sister Cheryl, awesome. So I appreciate that, guys. As we've promised, we got to have that. Let me just go refresh. And there we go. 10,000 subscribers. So, you know, this has only been possible because of our supporters and because of, you know, our obviously subscribers, everybody in the chat that has made this possible. I see Taylor Stewart in the chat complaining. He's been nothing but disrespectful to me over the last several months in setting up the debates, you know, saying that he's going to destroy the Trinity, calling Trinitarians, you know, worldly. Well, sorry to break it to you. You know, I am a Trinitarian. I'm also hosting you in a debate. So, you know, just show a little respect when I'm doing a lot of work setting up those debates. So, but I understand there's probably Trinitarians like Praise I Am that would be up to debating Mr. Taylor Stewart there, though. So, okay, Redefine Living. Appreciate it, brother. Congratulations, guys. Again, Benjamin Gauthier, the man himself, the man, the myth, the legend, who puts together all of our artwork. So he's done our God bless you. He's done. It's hard to keep up with this chat currently. So stand on scripture. If you still want to do that debate with Kelly Powers or whomever, shoot me an email and we'll reschedule. So anyways, the Endogenous Retrovirus Handbook. This is the latest that we've put out. Praise I Am. We've got him. Well, we're working on scheduling him for a couple debates in the future. So there we go. There's a challenge for you, Taylor. So, okay. The Synagogue. Appreciate that, brother. Looking forward to actually a big debate coming up between CJ and Will Duffy on open theism. So that's coming up soon, actually. Well, in August. Time flies by these days. So, yeah, they're going to be debating. And let me see here. Cheryl, appreciate that. Doki Doki Bible Club. Thank you so much. Logical was he's unsubbed and resubbed. He's the 10,000th subscriber. And so that means LPP, you've won the prize of being the 10,000th subscriber. So your prize is a free Endogenous Retrovirus Handbook. I know you've been looking forward to this for a while, but in all seriousness, Benjamin Gauthier did a fantastic job on this cover. You can see the orange one in the back. So if you have not yet picked up that book, what are you waiting for? Well worth it. Very comprehensive response to endogenous retroviruses as evidence for evolution. So, I think that's pretty much all that comes to mind. Anybody who's interested in, so there are several topics that I'm looking to line people up. I've had a ton of requests come in, including a ton over the last few days for the Evolution Debate Challenge series. So if you are one of the evolutionists that sent in a request, I am going to catch up on emails probably over the weekend. So we'll get you set for August, September. This is the summer of debates. Okay. And so we've got debates almost every day, it seems, at least 4 or 5 a week. And so I need debaters for topics on soteriology, dinosaurs and man, just atheism in general, the nature of God, Trinity versus oneness, debaters when it comes to the Bible translation issue. And so, I'm just looking at the chat. I'm not even going to deal with some of the negative comments, but so Doki Doki Bible Club. Appreciate that, brother. To beat me. Oh, so there we go. Okay. Well, I think that's pretty much it. That's all that comes to mind. I'm going to take a break. Looks like, yes, Nicholas, I got yours as well, brother. So, the more requests that I come in with people who are like, hey, I'm interested in these topics. Let's say you list 5, then it'll be very easy for me to kind of set you up with somebody. Okay. And that's been very helpful, especially on the modern Bible version topic, because there was a lot of people, including myself, who wanted to see debates on that topic. And so, I put it out there that, hey, we're in need of debaters for that topic. And now we got a bunch. I think we'll probably have roughly 5 just on those topics. That topic in the next couple months. So Missing Mod, good to see you. Luca Medugno and I will be debating in a couple weeks endogenous retroviruses. So I'm going to have that scheduled in the next couple nights. And Luca Medugno is taking on the Evolution Debate Challenge series. So that should already be up on the channel. And so please make sure to check it out. Luca and Kent, they'll be debating first week in August. Beneficial mutation specifically. So Jim P, appreciate that, brother. Best content on the 2. Listen, we do our best to give you full-time content, not just a debate here and there. No, debates every week, interviews every week, presentations every week, books, every several months. So the only reason we're able to do this full-time is because of our support. We're a listener-supported audience, of course, and you guys are the life and blood of this channel. The glory goes to God. We've hit 10,000 subscribers, and now we need to hit the 100,000 subscriber mark. So here we go. LPP, appreciate it, brother. We're going to set up a debate between LPP and also David Emery from tonight. So that would be awesome. Here's how you can support us. Doki Doki Bible Club. Appreciate that. Patreon.com, Creationist Clothing, StandingForTruthMinistries.com. Actually, I need to get together. I got to find some time. If only they could add a few hours to the day, right? I got to find some time to talk to my website designer, and we've got a lot of updates for the website. We've really got a lot of updates actually for that. So we've had so much content in the last 2 months that when we do update the website, it's going to be like completely changed around. So bold as a lion, appreciate it. Click the event section on the YouTube channel, and the second I get the event confirmed, I schedule it. Helps me stay organized, helps you guys hit that reminder notification bell. So you'll see shows all the way up to September. We are working on a conference for the first week of September. I want to get about 4 or 5 speakers in terms of defending Genesis. So already we've got one on dinosaurs and man and their coexistence with the creation research team. I'm looking to have other speakers as well, Dr. Jerry Bergman, a couple others that I have to reach out to. So I think that's pretty much it, guys. God bless. And There we go. Logical, plausible, probable. Come to the late night after show. It starts at 10:45 CT. So Sam Jenkins, you got it, brother. You got it. You are a fantastic editor. You're doing fantastic work. The Synagogue, yes. We should get you to speak on refuting compromise with CJ Cox. There we go. So we've just added another speaker. You don't have a choice in the matter there, CJ. So here we go. I just posted the promo channel or trailer for better than any Avengers trailer, Justice League trailer. You know, this is better than any trailer Hollywood has put out. I just put the link in the chat. Take a couple minutes, check it out. You know, we worked hard on that one. Sam Jenkins was the editor. And subscribe to the Creation Research team, okay? Because they are putting out some great work, and we've got them coming on this month, and then also in September for hopefully what will turn into a conference. That a boy, CJ, always down for a presentation, debate, panel discussion. So we're supposed to have our panel discussion, our next one, tomorrow. Okay, worst case scenario, it'll be Saturday, but it will be in the next couple days. So stay tuned. Again, this was another debate marathon week. Okay, guys, anybody who's interested in a debate on any of the topics that I've mentioned, or maybe you even have a novel topic in mind that we haven't really hosted, shoot me an email, truthishate2017@gmail.com, and I will do my best to fit you into the schedule. We want to end 2022 the right way. Okay. Again, this was our 200th debate. If you're not yet subscribed, hit the subscribe button. And thank you so much for getting us to 10,000 subscribers. That is awesome. Praise the Lord, and God bless everybody. I'm back for 1 second. I posted the wrong link since I've got 100 tabs going up. So, hey, 10,000 subscribers. So I'll give you 2 closings. Sam Jenkins, trailer is here. I appreciate that, Nicholas, brother. Sam, the trailer's here. So guys, click this, give it a couple minute watch. It's worth it. And if you're an evolutionist and you want to take the evolution debate challenge as well, we've done 30. Okay, we've had Team Dodgeball. They're kind of they're feeling defeated. They know they've been defeated. So they didn't want this challenge to happen. But sorry to break it to you, there, Team Dodgeball. We've now done 30 in this series in just in just what 2022 so far. I knew the debate challenge series would be fun, and there'd be a lot of traction and a lot of people interested, but I didn't know that there would be this much interest. I mean, last week alone, we had 3 back to back, and all 3 of those debates were awesome. And I'm already flooded with requests. So you know what? We've got debates, conferences, interviews, lectures, and more until the rapture. All right. Which is after the tribulation, by the way. Just teasing you, pre-tribbers. That reminds me, guys, I'm putting on a series. End Times Theology series. So I've done 2 episodes so far. Please check those out on the channel. And what we're going to do in about a month, since I am doing this series, is I'm going to have the man himself, the man, the myth, the legend, Dr. Kent Hovind on. Him and I, we're going to chat about post-tribulation rapture. And then guess what? We are going to open up the mic for some fun. So whether you agree or disagree, I want to see you here. And bring your questions, objections, and we're going to have a civil in-house dialogue on God teach me to pray your word. I knew once you bring up the rapture, say it 3 times and you show up. I appreciate your passion. I appreciate Mr. Greeny says Is this a fake hang up? It kind of was. It kind of was. I put the wrong link in there. So Sam, post that link again. Everybody in the chat, check it out. This debate was another one in the books. I had a ton of fun during this debate. So I'm hoping David Emery will be willing to do a round 2 and maybe make this into a trilogy, because these gentlemen made for a fantastic debate. Okay, it's coffee time for me. I'm out of energy. So God bless everybody, and we will see you soon.